Assalamu alaikum everyone. Just to let you know, I think a few people have just gone to pray, so we're going to wait for them to get back, inshallah, then we'll resume the rest of the program.
That would be boring.
Oh, you said 26.
Okay, everyone, if we can all be seated, inshallah, we're going to resume with the program. If there are any volunteers that are in the lobby still, if you can ask everyone to return to the room. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Jazakallah khair everyone for making their way back. I hope you all enjoyed the food. I appreciate there might have been a few extra spices for some of our guests, but there was a really lovely moment where I think somebody was struggling and they ran to the shop and got some yogurt and started sharing with other people that were also struggling. So that's real unity in the group, mashallah. So thank you very much for that. We can give them a round of applause as well. Thank you, that's very considerate of them. Now, as I said, this next segment is a critical part of the program. We're going to be getting an eyewitness account of someone from our community who had the honor of going to Palestine to serve themselves in the hospitals and what they learned and what they experienced. We'll see firsthand. And then we will also hear from other colleagues from the Palestinian background, but also, most importantly, we'll hear directly, hopefully, if the technology doesn't fail us, we'll hear directly from friends and colleagues who are in Palestine right now in Gaza that have been working around the clock and that have been helping to try and save lives. I'm going to just give a brief update, and alhamdulillah, I'm really honored to speak to you on behalf of Islamic Relief, the organization that I work with. As somebody from Hull, over the years, Islamic Relief has been a big part of my personal journey, but also our community has supported for many, many years. We are now, this year, celebrating 40 years of Islamic Relief, and 40 years has been achieved thanks to the support of people like yourselves here in the community. But what that has meant is, in places like Palestine, in places like Syria, Yemen, etc., when there is a crisis on the scale of what we're seeing right now, we don't have to try to get people to go and try to get aid into the borders that are closed and try to fly people from the UK and around the world. We've got people who are on the ground, that are living there, citizens that are part of the community in Palestine, in Gaza, that have on the clock, not just since October the 7th, work responding to crises and supporting the people that have been affected. And since October the 7th last year, thanks to the amazing support of our donors here in the UK and around the world, Islamic Relief has been able to deliver £26 million worth of aid to the people of Gaza. And that has been unprecedented, but it's been possible because of our infrastructure on the ground, because of our relationships with key bodies like the UN's World Food Programme. So while the Rafah border has been closed since the middle of May, where tens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of trucks are now queuing up. The last count, somebody said about 70 miles worth of trucks are queuing up at the Rafah border and unable to get in because it's closed. We've been able to get food supplies in via the Karim Shalom crossing because of our relationship with the UN and the World Food Programme. Now, all of this didn't just happen overnight and wouldn't have happened if we just started responding last year. People have been supporting our efforts for over 4 decades now, and that has allowed us to build the infrastructure and to achieve and to reach those people that are hard to reach. And especially the crisis response team in Hull, over the last couple of years, and especially in the last 12 months, has been desperately working around the clock to raise further funds for the people of Gaza, and specifically in response to the current crisis. So I think it was important for us to just mention that. And I wanted to just play a short video, inshallah, that hopefully gives you an insight into what we've been able to deliver thanks to your support over the last 12 months. I don't know if can we switch the lights off or not? If we can, that'd be great. If not, it's fine, inshallah.
الحمد لله من اول اسبوع في مسجد
وصفنا استشهدوا يعني اعتقد ان تكون اعداد غير مسبوقه ستفوق السلسله كثير.
وش بدنا نعمل؟ هذا اللي صار لنا الحمد لله تعقب عليه كل 3-4 شهور حرب، كل 3-4 شهور حرب وهجوم وشرود.
Beyond what help us. My donation and yours are shielding thousands in Gaza and beyond. They're providing medical supplies that are helping to save precious lives. They've helped thousands of people to break their fast during Ramadan and have given children a reason to smile and rain. My donation and yours are providing clean water, hygiene kits and warm clothing to those who have nothing. And they're helping to care for tens of thousands of orphans and children with the tools to cope with the impact of this war. Every petition you sign is helping to raise our voices in support of the people of Gaza. Your donations are powerful and your voice is powerful.
Alhamdulillah, that work continues, and in fact, the last update I got was yesterday. I think it carried on. And yesterday, alhamdulillah, the team were able to deliver 12,900 hot meals to people in northern Gaza, 12,000 in Gaza City, 2,000 in the middle area, and distributed clothes and kits to 900 children, as well as first aid psychological support to nearly 300 children. So this is happening on a daily basis. In addition to this, the hot meals is the key thing that is happening right now. And the Hot Meals program is providing cooked meals, because as we know, most of the people that have been displaced are now living in either temporary shelter in tents or in schools and other buildings. So they don't have the facility to cook for themselves, they don't have cooking utensils, and they're all in survival mode. So the Hot Meals program just yesterday delivered 36,000 hot meals in the middle area, 79,500 in Khan Yunis, 16,000 meals in northern Gaza, 52,000 in Gaza City. And this is all the material and ingredients that are getting into Gaza via the WFP program, alhamdulillah. And that is all thanks to your support. And it's because of the work that we've been doing over the last 4 decades that we're able to establish and continue this work. So I know that the crisis response team and the efforts of the different mosques and communities across the city have supported many amazing charities that are responding to this crisis. And on behalf of the community and the charities that you have been supporting, I want to say Jazakallah Khair. And I think you all deserve a massive, massive round of applause as well. So give yourself a big round of applause. Now, I think we've got a special treat before we speak to Dr. Junaid, who's been to Palestine and Gaza recently. We're going to hear from a young Palestinian boy who his family are from Nablus and Ramallah, and he now calls Hull his home. We wanted someone to share some words and reflections, and we thought it would be nice to hear a poem from a young Palestinian boy. So could you give the best and the warmest of welcomes to the stage for our next speaker, young Jad, who's going to put a round of applause. You okay to hold it? Hold it close, okay?
Good afternoon, my name is Jad, and I'm pleased to be here supporting Palestine. I'm going to be reciting a poem called Bombs Over Gaza by Ahmed Paul Keeler. Bismillah. And now the tears are flowing every day. We watch the children of Gaza being massacred and mutilated, and the bombs keep falling. We witness the lamentation of the mother cradling her dead baby, and the bombs keep falling. We wonder at the dedication of the doctors and nurses in their bombed-out hospitals, and the bombs keep falling. We see the desperation of citizens and civil defenders using their bare hands to rescue those trapped beneath the rubble, and the bombs keep falling. We listen to the journalists who continue their reporting whilst their homes and families are being destroyed, and the bombs keep falling. We are amazed at the teachers who continue their lessons in tents as their schools and universities are reduced to rubble, and the bombs keep falling. We are witnesses to the destruction of the olive groves and the farmland and the starving of the Gazans, and the bombs keep falling. Even the dead are not spared, with graves dug up and cemeteries desecrated, and the bombs keep falling. The mosques have been destroyed, but the call to prayer still rings out across Gaza. As the faithful lift up their hearts to heaven amidst the rubble, and the bombs keep falling. Gaza may be destroyed, but the indomitable spirit of the Gazans will remain when the bombs stop falling.
Thank you so much to Jad. SubhanAllah, it takes a lot of courage and bravery to step up and to perform in front of such a large crowd, especially at such a young age. But I think the poem is just, gave me goosebumps just standing there listening to it. Considering the circumstances that we're seeing and how horrific the situation is, and as we see every single day, the situation get worse and worse, and we think it's going to stop, but the bombs keep falling. And I guess that's why we're here today, to play our part, to do what we can, to not only remember the people of Gaza, but recognize that while we are in this privileged position to sit here at this event where we've had food with our friends and our colleagues, where we're in the safety and sanctuary of this building, where we'll go home to our friends and our family, in Gaza, the bombs keep falling. So thank you so much, Jad, for stepping up and for representing the people of Palestine so well. Please give him a massive, massive round of applause as well again. Now, many of us are not fortunate enough, and I know when we see these horrific scenes on our screens and on our phones, we all have this urge, we have this wish to be able to be with those children and with those families and put our arm around them and give them a hug and hold those children close to us and support those orphan children whose families have been killed in front of them. And we don't all have such a privilege. But one of our guests today and our next speaker amongst us was fortunate enough to be in that position, was able to travel to Gaza on a medical mission, was able to work in the hospital in Gaza, was able to provide some relief and use the skills and the ability that God has bestowed upon him to make somewhat of a difference. And that is Dr. Junaid Sultan, who's a cardiovascular surgeon at Hull Infirmary in Hull Hospitals, and is also part of the health workers for Palestine. Please give him a big warm welcome.
Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for the warm welcome. What I'm going to talk today is actually all the facts. One of the speakers earlier said is that when you are doing the advocacy, just share the facts. And what makes it easier for me is basically the two important points. One, I always share the ground facts which I witnessed with my own eyes. And second, I talk about the protection of the international humanitarian laws. So the most important take-home message from all of this, and which I will give to all of you, is please keep doing that and never stop. There are going to be a lot of images which some of you may find graphic, and that may be triggering. So please, if you don't feel comfortable, either you don't watch it, or please you can leave temporarily. But I apologize for that in advance. I'm going to start by giving you some ground facts and help you to try to understand what's the dynamics in Gaza. If you look at the Gaza Strip, it's actually not very a big surface area. If you look at it in the length, it's only about 42 kilometers, and if you look at it in the width, it's hardly 6 kilometers at the narrowest point and 12 kilometers at the widest point. And if you look at the surface area, and I give you an example, let's compare to London, our most famous city. So compared to London, Gaza Strip is about 5 times smaller than that. But when you compare the population of London is about 10 million, and Gaza's population before this war was about 2.4 million. So think about it, an area which is 5 times smaller, but has a population about more than twice what it has. And the reason why I'm giving this figure is it's very important, and I want you to remember these figures, and then when I will be at my last slides, that will help you to understand the impact of that. And the most important point to consider from this is that means that people are already living in a very small surface area. They already do not have enough facilities, and the impact on that is huge because of living in such a small area. And due to that, people are mostly living in a high structure built in the form of apartments because they do not have enough space to build many big houses, and that's the only way they can accommodate such a large population. And one of the reasons is they've been forced to live like that because after the Nakba, a lot of the Palestinians were pushed and they were asked to leave their land, and they were forced into this area. So that's why actually Israelis, they gave this the Gaza Strip, and they allowed the Palestinians to only live in that small area basically. And this area is all fully besieged from all the 3 sides. So Palestinians do not have any right to leave or enter unless the idea for Israelis allow them to enter or leave, and not even by the seaside. It's essentially like a prison camp, and people are depending purely on the IDF. Before the war began, there were about 36 hospitals. So the Gazans worked hard and they developed a healthcare infrastructure and they were trying to help to deliver it in the best possible way. Because people ask that why in a small surface area 36 hospitals were needed, because it was in proportion to the population and to serve them in the best possible way. And these hospitals were very well built actually. And out of these 36 hospitals, because given the circumstances, large population, small area, most of the hospitals were built for very specialist reasons. Like there was a one full hospital purely for cancer hospital. Like all the cancer patients would go only to one center. Ophthalmology or eye patients were going to one single hospital. Pediatric population was going to one. Maternity care was in one. Because this is the way you try to deliver the state-of-art care in the best single center people can come and deliver. Right now the situation is that out of these 36 hospitals, 33 are completely out of order, pretty much. Only 3 hospitals are working. The main single one hospital which is working is European Gaza Hospital. That's where I went and I did my mission for 2.5 weeks. The second hospital is Al-Aqsa, which is in the middle, which is in the Darabala area. And the third partial working hospital is Al-Nasser Hospital, which is also in Khan Yunis and is near to the south. So one full functioning working and 2 partial hospital, and they are covering a population of about 2.2 million. So these are the important figures so that will help you to understand the circumstances and what the impact it is having. When I arrived in Gaza, I thought of my mission, and it was about kind of a sunset time. It took us about 8 hours. And the first thing which we were welcomed were by a bomb, and it just literally went a huge blast next near to our safe house. So technically the safe house was supposed to be a safe house and you should be kind of protected and there should not be any blasts. But this literally shocked all of us, and after the sunset we realized and we found out that there is no light, no direct water supply, and it is curfew. So you are in a pitch black kind of environment, no light, and loud noises of constant bombs firing, and the quadricopter and drones, they were just all everywhere around you. And these bombs which were falling very close to your safe house as well. I just give you an idea of how loud it was. Just stopping it here, but just have an idea that this noise is there 24/7. And people of Gaza live with that 24/7, and this is a constant damaging to your ears and a kind of a psychological and a sense of fear impact, and particularly to the kids as well. And us who are working as the humanitarian, who are protected by the international humanitarian laws, and who were there as a part of a mission, and there was no need for a drone flying on us 24/7. And these drones were coming as near as sometime near to the roof and looking through our windows and trying to kind of, further intimidate us all the time. So these were the things which you were kind of, facing all the time. This is just to give you an idea that how bad the situation was. So this was the border between Egypt and Gaza. This was the Rafah opening through which we went in. Somewhere in the middle of Rafah was our safe house, and a European General Hospital was at the border between Khan Yunis and Rafah. So IDF gave us a direct route that we can travel only on this particular route, which was decided by them, and they will send us a clear instruction that you will travel from point A to point B, and you cannot go to any other kind of a road. If we will, there is no guarantee we could be bombed. So while traveling from the safe house to the hospital, we have often seen bombs falling on either side of us, but as long as we were on that road, that's fine. But there was never any guarantee. And this was the evacuation zone which was ordered to basically evacuate, which was very close to the hospital, which was very close to the safe house. And that's why bombs were falling very close to us all the time. This is just to give you an idea that, we were thinking that we are going, and probably, we were not able to even understand the level of the destruction. But when we were traveling between the safe house to the hospital, and if you look at the state, every single building was destroyed. And the question which was coming into our mind was that why? Why every single house, every single building has been destroyed? There was no explanation for it. But the level of the devastation and destruction, when you go through and when you see it with your own eyes, it's beyond imagination. It looks absolutely like you have seen Armageddon, literally like that. When I reached to the hospital, that was the first day, and there was a huge loss. And I'm just trying to give you an idea to understand the difference. The smoke here is quite kind of covering a large surface area, but the first picture I showed you, it was a quite like a small kind of, the reason was that was a single bomb which was kind of, dropped in one area, and this was a carpet bombing in which the F-16 or 35 comes and they drop bombs in a large area. So the level of devastation or destruction is quite extensive. And when you are that near to it, that gives a huge impact onto you. And if you are in a hospital, you literally it shakes the whole hospital. The electricity completely goes off. And due to the shock waves, it can quite often harm you as well due to that. And when I entered into the hospital, the environment was very, very strange and very different. Which was outside the European hospital, this is the main corridor. So these are all the tents which are within the corridor, and you could see. And I'll just walk to the stairs. This is just to give you an idea. The whole hospital protocol was completely lost. When I arrived at the European General Hospital, there were about 30,000 refugees which were in the hospital. They were staying in the hospital corridors, on the wards, everywhere. They were just using whatever which basically came into their hands, any sort of a bed sheet, any sort of a thing. And they were using it as just to protect their privacy, and they were using it as a camp, and they just made their small tent and they were just living behind that. This was that much level of a poor condition they were living. You know, when you heard, and you might have heard people saying that I literally have nothing on me, just the 2 clothes I'm wearing, it was literally like that. This was the level of the devastation what these people were going through. And due to that, the impact on the hospital cleanliness, hospital sterility, and the level of increase in the hospital infections, that increased to a tremendous effect because there was no protocol at all. The hospital was just not a hospital anymore. It had literally changed into a refugee camp, basically. Now I'm going to show you some pictures, so please just giving you a bit of a warning here, so just to be aware. So the type of the work when I was at Gaza, I dealt with 3 different types of basically work. One was the acute, which was the direct impact of the war. Most of them were gunshot wounds, bombs, burns, and they were coming in extensive number. Every day there was a large number of casualties just coming non-stop. Then there were patients who, before when I went to Gaza, who were already being kind of due to the war, they were injured. And because there were lack of antibiotics, painkillers and other, the complication rate in the hospitals was very high, almost 100%. Everybody was getting some sort of a complication in the form of wound infection or something else. And due to that, the number of patients who were coming with complications due to the previous treated injuries, that was sky high. So if, let's say, like there were 30 patients who have come in last kind of 4 hours with acute injuries, then there will be at least 10 people who are coming with complications. Then the routine patients, because we completely forget, because where would the routine patients go? Because people who kind of can have a pain in the tummy and can have an appendicitis or can have a pain in their gallbladder, cholecystitis, they were still coming to the hospital. People were having heart attacks, people were having strokes. Those things just didn't stop, that because war is going on and acute patients are coming to the hospital. And these patients were the ones who were actually in the worst possible way got affected in this. Because everybody was just looking and concentrating, somebody is coming with bleeding from the leg, arm or bone, and everything, every attention was naturally just going to that. And all these people with the routine kind of problems, they were coming and they were just sitting sometime there for hours and nobody was even able to go and ask them why you are here. And that was devastating because the manpower was not enough, There was no kind of administrative working staff to help and kind of, make it more organized, because you will go into an A&E and there will be something like about 500 patients there. One thing which I saw the most, and that was the gunshot wounds, regardless of the age, young, adult, woman, elderly, of any age. And the most common spot where they were hit was around the knee. And the reason for that was because snipers had somehow learned that when they were hitting around the knee, they were hitting the blood vessels which normally run around in this area. And when you damage the blood vessel and the nerve, it will basically cause an extensive bleed. And if people or patients don't come in time to the hospital, they can bleed to death. And even at times when we manage to save them and control this bleeding, quite often the level of damage due to the nerves and to the kneecap, it will cause such an extensive damage that will make their limbs essentially dysfunctional. So that had two impacts on the community. A, you will have a lot of people in the community, particularly of young age, who had dysfunctional limbs and who cannot. And second, in the society like where amputation is not seen as something like it is seen as a taboo, people do not want to have an amputation, then you give a psychological impact to that, because ultimately you have an amputation and people have to live with that fear, am I going to have an amputation? Or if they end up with an amputation, then they are always in that I am not any useful member of the society. And that's a psychological impact as well. So when they read that, and they technically went and they particularly caused this sort of injury, and this was in the most extensive numbers. We quite often, this is one of the blood vessels which I am stitching here, which you can see, and I did that, but one of the problems was that because of no antibiotics and no painkillers, quite often they will come back and the whole repair has just gone down. So this is another complication which I dealt with, a patient whose blood vessel was sewn up about 3 weeks before I was in Gaza. And this patient came back because all of a sudden he started to feel very unwell, his leg gave away, and he came back and we noted he had a big infection at the point of the repair. So even when you help them and repair and do things, but due to the lack of the full extensive medical care and other facilities and other medications, the results are still not going in their favor. These bullets, I found them everywhere. I found them around the shoulder, mainly wherever the main blood vessels were running, which were around the arms, knees, around the neck, and I just retrieved those bullets from all these different parts. This is an 8-year-old child. And when I saw that child, he was lucky enough that he didn't die when he was fired a bullet in his groin. And this is a particular sort of a bullet, we call it as dum-dum bullet. They go and they blast inside the body and they cause a lot of extensive damage and they cause a lot of inflammation in the tissues. So this 8-year-old child, you can see from the size of his bones that how small he is and being malnourished. You can see the size of the bullet is almost equal to the size of his big bone of hip, which is kind of something to think about. And this child was not able to put his foot on the ground for the last 3 to 4 months. He was originally fired this when he was in the north of Gaza. Somehow, medically, he didn't lead to death. He survived, and he managed to finally escape to come to the south after 3 to 4 months. And when I saw him, the child was crying with pain. He was not and on that day, we had extensive casualties in A&E. All the theaters were busy, and this father says to me, I got only 2 to 3 hours. This is your only time. If you can do something for my son, please do it. Because I have to take him back and I don't know when I can come back next and whether we will be even alive to come back. So these were the sort of challenging decisions which we had to make there and then, and what I can or any other humanitarian, what we were able to deliver, we had to do. So with that fear, that bullet is quite close to that small blood vessels of a child, and I had no operating theater and I had only 10 ml of local anesthesia. I had to do this operation. So these were the sort of challenging decisions which we were being put in place to do there and then. And I removed the bullet, which you can see here. So luckily the child survived and he went home smiling after that. But this, in an ideal world, it should have been done in the general anesthesia, in the most safest environment with all the facilities. But this child was crying with pain and I had to do it only with 10 ml of local anesthesia. This is another child. This is the back, and he's been fired with a big sniper bullet. And this child has been lucky because if you look at it, his rib is exposed. If this bullet has gone only a few millimeters inside, that would have caused him paraplegia or paralysis because his spine would have completely got damaged. But he was lucky enough and he managed to save and clean up his wound. This is another shot which is kind of, very, kind of a scene was very common among the snipers, and what they were doing was it was like maybe like a trophy shot or what you can call them, and they were particularly firing at the thumbs of the patient people. Why? Because the result of that was that, and quite often they were using this on their right hands, which was usually the dominant hand in most of the population, because what it will do is that it will make it dysfunctional, because after such an extensive damage, the nerve damage and the functional status of the hand is lost. So that was very, very challenging kind of, and to treat at that time. Many bullets which we retrieved. This big bullet which you can see, this is from the quadricopter. The quadricopter, which is like a drone which can fire, which comes down and really fire at you. We had that first-hand experience because one of the quadricopters came to our water reservoir in which we were staying, and they fired at the water reservoir, and we didn't have any water in our safe house for 24 to 48 hours after that. The reason I just played is just to give you an idea that it will be a nice calm morning, but you never know where the bullets will come from any direction, and you could be in their way and you could be the next in A&E, alive or dead or injured. I'm sorry to put these pictures, but this is very important for you to, so this is something which we were seeing pretty much every day. So this young child who is about 12-year-old, he arrived, all of his family members were dead, his mother and his brothers and sisters. He was the lone survivor with no. And any one of you who are medics, that this bone is bleeding, and to keep him alive, basically the catheters and tubes are tightly to control the bleeding. This can cause more damage, result in more tissue loss, but there was no other way because they do not have the equipment, they do not have the facilities, they do not have that opportunities. So whatever they could have come to their hand, they tried to save the child. When he came, I had no other option. We had to, along with my other team members, we had to do the bilateral amputation just to save this child's life. And next day when he woke up and we had to tell him that all your family members is dead. And psychologically, you cannot even think about what would be going through that child and what they suffer or what they face. Plus lots of other, and I had another child which I haven't put the picture. It came in a very different, but even worse kind of a situation, and I had to do an amputation on that child without any anesthesia in A&E there and then, and that will always remember, will always stay with me in my head how I did that. This is a child, just to give you an example, this is very important. I have to show this to you so that you know, and then you have to talk to someone and you can explain why. This is a child with no head, and we were not able to identify his identity, and nobody was able to identify whose family members are, who he belonged to. And one of the reasons is that when these bombs fall, they have put a lot of sharpeners in there. Those sharpeners are of we have never come across these before in other conflicts. They are of very, very bad quality, and what they do is that they cause such an extensive damage that sometimes, particularly for the kids, because kids do not have that much surface area, they will completely decapitate them. And that we have seen a lot in Gaza. And sometimes they will completely take off their arms, legs, and it will cause an extensive amount of damage. And that's why you will have a lot of dead bodies in Gaza which are unidentified, because you cannot just identify them due to the extensive damage they have. This is another 14-year-old young child who came while I was there, and we managed to fix his hip, and he was constantly saying to us that I have a constant sort of a strange sort of a feeling in my cough. It's like a buzzing kind of a thing, which I cannot fully explain to you. And with minimum facilities, if this child would have been in the normal environment, he would have had so many CT scan, MRA investigations. So I just had an ultrasound scan, a portable one, which I took with me as part of my mission, and with which I managed to just identify that he had a sharpener which went behind his knee, and it made a fistula between his artery and vein. And that fistula was creating such a kind of strange sort of a, and these were the sort of a strange injuries and so atypical, which you will never even expect. And then we had to remove that, and in this young age, we had to fix this. So I'll just go through just a few very quickly, just to give you amount of damage and expensive kind of, which I've seen. This was the war round kind of, going on, and because when there was nowhere to live, so all the family will move in with the patient, and they will stay in, they will be making breads, and they will be doing everything at the same time, because there is nowhere to go, and that you can understand what impact it would be having on the sterility and everything else. So that's why the infection rate was so sky high as well. But you cannot just control it. This is the sanitation outside. So people are living in tents, as you can see the condition of those tents so poorly, and then there is no sanitation, all the dirty water, sewage is flowing in the middle. So because of the lack of water and electricity, all the greenhouses are completely destroyed. This is how people have to live, even to get their phone charged and to stay in touch with their family members or outside world. They have to wait in queues to even get their mobile charged from somewhere. Everywhere you drive, and you will just see devastation. This is just driving through a street. And just imagine when you drive through that street and you see so much devastation, every building is destroyed. What can you kind of, And the reason I'm showing you these level of destruction is just to keep in your mind, and then you think about how much destruction it would have caused. So this is another testimony, and this is a big thing what you can see here. What does it say? Made in USA. So when no media is allowed to go in and no international journalist is allowed to go in, and this is the reason why. Because there are so many proofs of war crimes and so many proofs of the violation of the international humanitarian law. This is a huge bomb which is sitting in a civil area among the destroyed house. And what it is doing that, but there is no international media to report it. So this is the reason that us humanitarians have been given such a tough time, because we are witnessing and giving the testimonies of these war crimes, basically. So the reason I showed you all that, and just you fit in all together, but what I want you to understand is that you can escape bomb, you can escape bullets, but what all these have caused, these are the silent killers. They are destroying and killing 10 times more than what the bombs or bullets can destroy directly. And the why this whole kind of destruction and pattern has been put in place in that Gaza is purely to achieve that goal, and why it has changed to a genocide, and that is the reason for that. And this is what you have to talk about and you have to basically fight against. So, if you look at the statistics, and you will see that there are more than 90,000 tons of TNT which has been dropped on Gaza. And when you compare it to the Hiroshima, when the atomic bomb was dropped, it was only 15,000. And I've shown you so many, like the whole building structure has been destroyed. And there are so many number of unidentified bodies. At times, we had to give the people body parts in bags. We had to weigh about 75 kg for an adult and 20 kg for a child. But this was just to put their mind at peace, so that they are taking their near one and are able to bury them. And the reason I am putting all this together and now have a think, and if somebody asks you what, so officially the WHO and other stats, they say 41,000 people are dead. And the recent paper which has published, it says it is about 186, which is kind of, and that's the reason why they said, because look at the amount of destruction. Every house has been destroyed. More than 90,000 tons have been kind of, and the silent killers which are coming into place, and the unidentified bodies. So in my humble opinion, and this is my suggestion, what I witnessed and what I saw, the number of deaths are easily more than 500,000. But this is my opinion and this is my view. Time will tell, and when these kind of, actually factual missions will go by UNO and they will calculate, then I will kind of, you can tell me whether I'm true or wrong, but this is my humble opinion, the devastation is way higher. These are the medical students, and this is their medical college, changed from their beautiful university, which both of them have been destroyed. And you can see even kind of, they cannot even study properly without a break. There are many other ways by which you can help. You can help them by doing the telemedicine. You can help in their medical evacuations. You can help to the refugees in Egypt, and you can help their GoFund applications, because this is very important to understand. They are all putting their applications. Why? There is a reason, because Gaza has been made uninhabitable to live right now. So a lot of them are putting applications, and people sometime or a lot of the time judge them that they are asking for money or do not trust them. There is a reason why they are doing. So if anybody approaches you, at least speak to them, hear them out, and try to understand what is happening, please. In my kind of summary mission, what I saw was an absolutely Armageddon. I witnessed famine, and I can confirm that. A complete destruction of the healthcare infrastructure and complete lack of the humanitarian work. The reason I'm saying lack, because I feel like that each one of you, when you do your advocacy work, please keep writing to United Nations as well. And I feel like that they can do better and remind them that why they are not doing what they should, go to the last limit, what they should. After seeing all this devastation, I keep asking myself, is this a war? And to me, it's not a war, it's a genocide. And more than 2/3 of children and women and civilians. I'm not saying kind of I've seen men, and those men are not civilian. Those men are civilian as well. I've not seen a single fighter who I've seen who have come that who was holding any weapons or who was being treated in the hospital. But in terms of kind of okay, even if I exclude the men, 2/3 of the injuries which have come, who have come dead or injured, they are men or women and civilians. So it keep kind of I asking myself, and I'm not able to satisfy. And the reason I put this is the most important single kind of message, another important message to take, because it took us 70 years after the Second World War to define humanitarian laws. And finally, we managed to get to the point to talk about as a savior of humanity and talk about the protection. But we literally just destroyed it in just this 1 year. How we have completely made so many holes in this. And tomorrow, if we need to go and stand under that umbrella ourselves, how can we do that? No, we cannot use the international humanitarian laws as per we need it, when we need it. The international humanitarian laws apply without any ethnicity or without any religion or race. So my suggestions are quite a lot, but what I would say is that you can help and contribute in every single way what you can. And the most important point is that don't stop advocacy. Don't feel like that I am just a person, what can I do? No, every little drop adds to make a sea. So keep doing what you can, don't stop, keep on pushing, keep on doing what you can in every capacity what you can. And then keep writing to your MPs, keep writing to Prime Minister, keep writing to UN. Don't feel helpless. Join together forces, start doing networking. 1 + 1 is kind of much more than you doing on your own. We have a great initiative for medical students from Hull. Our Professor Lobani, he's sitting here. Can you just raise your hand, Professor Lobani? So he's in charge of the GYM, which is the Gaza Medical Education. And we have a table outside, Healthcare Workers for Palestine, and we are doing our best to help and support medical students. So please contribute generously as much as you can and help and support that. And there are many other ways by which you can. Okay, my only take message from this is war is never a solution. Dialogue, communication, that is the only way forward. Peace is the only way forward. And that is what we need to push and fight for. Thank you so much.
I honestly don't know how we follow that presentation. I met Dr. Junaid by accident a few months ago, and we've been in conversation ever since, and I've been joining him at the vigils for the healthcare workers for Palestine. As whenever I'm in the city on a Friday, every Friday 6:30, these guys gather around the corner of Gladstone Street near the Whole World Infirmary, and they stand in solidarity with the health workers of Gaza who are being killed on a daily basis with the rest of the civilians. But even to this day, I had no real understanding of the level of impact that he had seen and witnessed, and just sitting there and seeing some of those images. And I know we've seen so much on social media over the last year. We've seen some horrific footage and material. But to know that someone amongst us was there themselves physically in that environment and seeing those innocent children, shrapnel is one thing from a bomb that's been dropped from tens of thousands of feet from the sky, but for a sniper to put the crosshairs on an innocent child and pull the trigger on a child in the street is just unimaginable. What threat does that child pose? What justification could there ever be for such heinous crimes? And I know that some of the material shared was very, very difficult to see. And hence, when we were discussing, Dr. Junaid did say, should I show them? And I said, look, just warn everybody because it is very graphic and very painful. But I think seeing some of the things that he saw firsthand hopefully makes us realize that today and this event and the activities that have been talked about before us, the initiatives by Jean and some of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign activities and the advocacy and the humanitarian, the fundraising work that the Crisis Response Team and other organizations have been doing, how critical it is, because we may be so far removed, tens of thousands of miles away, but we all have the power to do something. Those families that are in those hospitals who are seeking refuge, we have the ability to, if nothing else, to sustain them, to give them something to eat to survive. These doctors that are risking their lives, people from around the world that are risking their lives to go to Gaza and to try to administer, these people need our support. So the efforts that they're doing on the local level, here with the Gaza Education for medics and the health workers, they are working around the clock to try to support these people that are risking their lives to save lives in Palestine. And the least we can do is to support them. So I hope, as difficult as that was to see, that it reminds us that this genocide is not over. In fact, it's being expanded. It's already reached Lebanon, God knows where we will go next. And just as their resolve isn't breaking, just as the number of bombs being shipped to them is not being reduced, just as their sales exports are not being cancelled, our efforts cannot be cancelled either. Our energy cannot run out. We cannot stand down, because they will get a free pass to continue to carry out atrocities like this. And whether we like it or not, it's happening on our watch. And we are watching it, and we're seeing it, and we're witnessing it. So if nothing else, I hope that today acts as a means, as a catalyst to ensure that our efforts are doubled and tripled and we don't back down. And we continue to pressure those that have sold their souls for the sake of a career in politics to say, you represent us and we will not allow you to continue to arm these killers in our name. And we have to continue. So, my utmost respect to you, Dr. Junaid, and to your team. May God preserve you and continue to allow you to save lives. And huge, huge respect to everybody that's being able to function after seeing some of the things you've seen. I honestly wouldn't be able to. I would have given up on life if I had seen some of the things you've seen. For you to actually function on a daily basis after being there and having witnessed that is a huge testament to your character. And I'm sure everyone in the room feels the same way. So thank you for that. Give him a massive round of applause again. Now, as I mentioned, we know that the genocide is expanding and the indiscriminate killing is continuing. But there is a larger goal that has been very clearly stated by, especially the current Israeli government, of complete annexation of Palestine as a state, and the atrocities that are continuing now in the West Bank, and the number of people that have been killed and have been, the settlements continuing, is something that in the midst and in the context and the backdrop of Gaza and Lebanon is sometimes forgotten. So our next speaker, Dr. Murad, is going to be, I think, highlighting and focusing on the West Bank, inshallah. So if we can give Dr. Murad a big welcome as well, inshallah. No problem.
Thank you for welcoming. And before I start my speech, I would just want to say a big thank you for everyone here as a Palestinian, because you are here raising awareness, you are showing your support, and a big thank you as well for the organizers and all the effort which made today. So today event is 1 year of genocide. I follow that by a question mark, because as it was discussed by the speakers before me, is it just a year of genocide? I don't think so. And my presentation title is Atrocities in the West Bank and Challenges to Healthcare. And I don't know how can I show all of those facts in only 15 minutes. It's really very difficult. I think before I start, we should just look to the history, because if we understand the history, we can understand what's happening those days. So, back in 1888, the Ottoman Empire was ruling most of the Middle East, including Palestine land. After that, the British and French took most of the Middle East. Palestine was under the British. After that, there was some encouragement of migration of Jews to Palestine land started. I'll go in more details in the next slide. But in 1948, the state of Israel was established, supported by most of the world. And at that point, the West Bank was ruled by Jordan, Gaza was ruled by Israel. 1967, Israeli 6 days war, they managed to occupy West Bank. They tried to go to Jordan, but they could not. They took the Jordan Heights from Syria, Sinai, and Gaza, including Jerusalem as well. Alright, after that, West Bank was and Gaza completely under the Israeli occupation, and they started to make settlements even in West Bank and in Gaza itself. Like you are hearing in the news about Mitzrayim, and all these are names of previous settlements till they left Gaza and Gaza disengagement in 2005. So this map just shows what's happening there. So Palestine as a country was not exist before, as Syria, as Lebanon, as Egypt, as most of those countries. But then we had all of those countries, and that's what happened. Now going to more details, the Jewish immigration started from 1882 to 1947. So there was some preparation. Israel did not appear just out of sudden, out of blue, just in 1948. There was a good preparation, there was universities, there was armies or military group under them. And if you look at the joint migration, the statistics or what we know, that about 10% of the population in 1917 was Jews. And actually, those are Palestinian Jews, those are Arab Jews. We know them, they are our neighbors. They live in Nablus Heights, for example. And in 1947, the population, as you can see, 33% Jews, 67 Arabs, 2/3 of the population Arabs. 1948, the occupation happened. And what happened in 1948? More than 100,000 Palestinians kicked out of their homes. More than 530 villages and cities were occupied, and they are out. More than 15,000 Palestinians were killed. Then, 1948 to 1967, the Billboard forces, 1967, as I explained in the map, took more lands. Again, West Bank was one of them because I was speaking regarding this one. West Bank, 25,000 were killed, 45,000 injured, and even 300,000 refugees, and then the start of the settlements in the Gaza, West Bank, even Lebanon, Jordan Heights, and Sinai. Last quotes I added just before the speech because what's happening in the last week in Lebanon. Just to remember that in 1982, as well, Israel took almost all of Lebanon. 17,000 were killed, 40,000 were injured. Many massacres like Sabra and Shafira happened to the refugee camps. And as a fact, what's the message? Well, we did not manage to kill you in 1948. We were scared to Lebanon. And after 40 years, we are here to kill you again in Lebanon. So, if we speak about the West Bank, it's ongoing, it never stopped. But I'll just highlight two uprisings, which maybe most of us we know, or at least heard about. And from 1987 to 1993, the first Intifada, or what's called a stone uprising, Palestinians in West Bank and Gaza did not have anything except some stones to fire through to the soldiers. And that was faced with what they call as a broken bone policy. They were catching children, arresting Palestinians, women, men, everybody. What they do, they broke the bone. And as Mr. Sultan was saying, now, instead of we broke your bone, you can't walk, now we shot you with a bullet into the knees or shoulder or whatever. So during this uprising, 1,162 were killed, 241 were children less than 17 years old. 90,000 were injured, 100,000 were arrested, 1,228 homes destroyed, and interestingly, 1,400,000 trees were uprooted because Palestinians are, most of them farmers, they have olive trees. Let's also not take you out of this land, but we will take your trees as well. This is like one of the videos. Actually, it's from now. It's back in the 80s. Those are the soldiers. You can see the protesters don't have anything ready to threaten them, holding the stakes, broken the poles, children, aggression. That's what people in West Bank are facing. Not now. That's 30 years ago. But maybe most of you, I don't know, not you really, most of the people in this world maybe don't look to this. The only thing that they look at what happened in 7th October and after that. Okay, the second Intifada, or what's called the Al-Aqsa Uprising, it is the second, basically, again in West Bank and Gaza, and it's from 2000 to 2005. Again, and that's after Oslo agreements, after the peace, 4,500 killed, 900 again, children less than 17 years, 50,000 injured, 50,000 arrested, 4,500 homes destroyed, 1 million trees uprooted, a 12 medical worker killed, 100 ambulances destroyed, and they started to build the wall of apartheid. Most of those numbers actually are not only from the Palestinian statistics centers, it's also from Israeli Jerusalem, like Jerusalem Post, Beit Salim, I think, organization as well, and maybe one of the most famous videos, Muhammad Abdullah, when he was shot with his father. And that's what's happening now every day in West Bank.
23 عاما.
Now, if we look from the period from 1967 to 2023, before 7th of October, before what we are telling now, 1 year of genocide, we have more than 100,000 people were killed. We have more than 1 million Palestinians went into the Israeli prisons. If you think about it, that's in Gaza and West Bank. The population in Gaza and West Bank is, let's say, around 5 billion. So that means 20% of the population at some point they were in the prison. Imagine the number. More than 200,000 were injured, and by injured, to be honest, I could not, this is just an estimation because there is no statistics for the injured people. And all of those numbers, the other ones are documented. So many cases were not documented as well. As Mr. Sultan just mentioned, well, we know that maybe now 41,000 were killed in Gaza, but when we have a good access and a good know on the ground facts, I think the number exceeds that pretty much. Now, one of the challenges in the West Bank is the settlement. So we have like more than 3,000 recorded settlers, and as a Palestinians who just recently came to UK, settlers were not having that courage, to be honest, to attack Palestinians as it's now in the last 2 or 3 days. For example, if we looked at the numbers of 3,000 in all of this period, but just in 2022, 800 attack, and I'll come to the numbers, which is more than 1,000 just in the last year. And currently, because the fact is, okay, all the international community laws, whatever we want to talk about it, they are telling about or selling the two-state solution, which is good. But if that's what we agreed to, why you are putting 700,000 settlers inside the West Bank, which we agreed that this should be the future Palestinian state. That means, as Netanyahu and all the extremists and Israeli government say, there is no place for Palestinian state. And that's what they want to do. Again, in the West Bank, there is about 700 permanent checkpoints. So basically, I did my training and my medical school in Jerusalem, and I was, but every day from Nablus to Jerusalem, I had to pass through 5 checkpoints. And the hardest one is the one just, which is called Kalandia, which separates Ramallah from Jerusalem. Those are permanent. Time up. Okay. I have much more number, but I'll go through them just, can I have 2 minutes more? Okay. Those more numbers of killing, and that was my start. That I don't think that is just 1 year of genocide, it's much more than that. This is the distribution of settlements. I'll go quickly. This is the countries that consider Israeli settlements to be violation of international law all the world, except the US, as the bombs are made in US. Settler growth pretty much in the last few years. Separation wall built to make it's very difficult for the Palestinians to move between the cities, villages, going to the schools, students passing through checkpoints because of the apartheid war. Those just the 140 famous checkpoints. 70,000 people needs to go through those checkpoints on daily basis for daily works or schools. This is the Kalandia checkpoint. You can see I was passing through those bus tracks every day, as any Palestinians want to go to the work, to the hospital, to school, everywhere. This is the apartheid wall, at least 8 meters, at some places 12 meters. This is from the hospital where I trained. The top 2 videos I'm running in Closet Hospital in Jerusalem, and that's, by the way, 2014. Soldiers inside the hospital, taking patients from the beds, preventing us from taking patients to theaters, injured children as well. You can see the pictures of the ambulances stopped, checked, or even targeted by airstrikes. Okay, and this is recently in West Bank in Jenin. This is on the Jenin governmental hospitals. They are stopping one of the doctors on the left side. This is one of the ambulances prevented from going into the hospital. This is the gas bombs going into the main yard of the hospital. And because I just lost 50 minutes, I want to finish with this video. If you look at this video, you will see a student going to his school. And okay, just to see this video, student going to his school with his bag, saying to the soldier, I have an exam, I want to go to my school. Soldier telling him, no, go back, don't pass. At the end, this is a fully armed soldier against a student with his bag, with his books, wants to go to the school, and this student managed to pass the soldier and to go to his school. And as I can see this, and I appreciate all the suggestions that we gave today, like BDS movement, support, everything adds to our cause, everything adds to the Palestinian struggle. But as this Palestinian passed this soldier and went to his school, I am pretty sure that we will leave him.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murad. I'm so sorry to rush you. I know you have so much to share, but I'm conscious that we're going to get kicked out of the venue soon. And we have a couple of more speakers to go through as well. So until the few key speakers that we have to go, we want to ensure that we don't miss them out. Again, I just want to reiterate, I think just that short presentation shows the severity of the challenges that people are facing in the West Bank. And I know, of course, right now, the world's eyes are on Gaza, but I think, this is part of the problem that they've made Gaza so horrific, so disastrous, so unimaginable that they can carry on with impunity in the West Bank and other parts, and it goes unnoticed because of how severely intense the attack on Gaza is. So it's important that we maintain and remain steadfast in advocating for the freedom of all Palestinians and for their rights to be restored, and not just losing ourselves on the issue of Gaza. The next part, hopefully, inshallah, I believe our colleagues are waiting for us, and as long as the internet connection is working in Gaza, we're going to speak to the first of our speakers. You can try to call them while I do the introduction. Sure. Our first speaker should be Sister Dr. Majid Mohammed, who is a doctor in Gaza, to give us an update on the current healthcare sector situation and the challenges faced by doctors and healthcare workers. So we're going to call her now, inshallah, to see if she's able to respond, and if the internet is working in Gaza, hopefully we'll be able to speak to her. You told them? Okay. Let's see, inshallah. I think we checked earlier and there was a connection. I'm hoping that it would still remain.
We can try the other one.
Do you want to try this one?
Okay, we'll try the darling.
Okay. Maybe there's Dr. Majid may be unavailable, so we will try Sister Dareen Al-Rodney, who's a dental student in Gaza, to give us a current update on the challenges that they are facing. So let's see, inshallah. The thing with WhatsApp is it sounds like it's ringing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually connected to the other side. So there may be a connection issue, and if there is, then we would have to wait, inshallah. But we'll try. We'll keep trying. I think Dr. Junaid messaged them just before, and they were ready and waiting for us. So let's see. I'm not sure because it's quite late now. Whether the
okay. So Darin is here. So Darin, can you change it to horizontal?
I think you need to change the screen lock so that you can turn it.
Yes.
Okay.
Horizontal or vertical?
Okay.
Horizontal or vertical?
If you have the screen lock off, then you can go horizontal. But if the screen lock is on, then you'll need to go vertical. Vertical is better. If you can go vertical.
Is good or not?
No, go vertical.
Vertical?
Yes. Okay. Dr. Zaid, you can do the introduction.
Thank you. So Darin is a dental student at Gaza, and she has been going through a lot of challenges. And it is a huge honor for us that Darin is here, and she is going to tell us what's the struggles of the healthcare professionals which they are facing in Gaza right now, And also she's going to tell her the challenges which she faced as a dental student. So Darin, I have faced the laptop towards the public. You can see there are a lot of people who are sitting there and all they are waving their hands towards you and to show you that we are here and we support you and we stand with Palestine. So thank you for here, and I give the floor to you. Please talk to everyone.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sister.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Okay. Yes. I am Titi, a dental student from Gaza. First, I would like the conference for making me part of this conference. And I hope that I can get my message across. Since October 7, 2020, since the year we are in Gaza are not okay. I know that watching on social media, but the reality is worse. 90% homes have been destroyed by the occupation. I displaced with my family more than 9 times from the occupation field. Now we are living in tents without any quality of life. No security, no electricity, if food and clean water. The deliberate destruction of food system to spread pollution and diseases such as hepatitis and polio, which weaken our health and diseases because the preventing of anti-class is a burning problem about food. The situation is very critical. We are sick, when we don't find any medicine to treat ourselves. I just remember when I became seriously ill in my birthday and became the most worst memory in my life. I became seriously ill and I go to the hospital and I didn't find any hospital. And because my severe, they gave me an analgesic solution carried on my father's hand in a car. This is considered the best treatment available. We are in Gaza, have everything, but we lost everything.
Why is it not connected?
And also I want to say, fucking the hospital, killing the doctor, all these lead to deterioration of the situation. And now without work, that means we can't. That means there is no money to buy the basic things, which became very expensive because of the war. We, the people of Gaza, used to invest our money in buying lots of land. For example, my family had 2 houses, and my father bought a farm, and they were done because of the war. My cousin report about 26 years old worked hard to develop this, and actually watching private. Yes, I I used everything actually. I that the field very close to me and all the symbol that never leaves my mind. My mother said to us when we are deceived and all houses around us were destroyed. She said, gather together so the world would fall on us together and we both die together. Do you realize how we think? We think that we will die because it's inevitable and think of this genocide. Also, I want to talk about an aspect that worries me, and I a lot about it, which is education. The occupation destroyed all the old schools and up to universities and thousands of students. يعني the situation is very hard here. Actually, as I mentioned before, no internet. يعني the internet helped me to complete this no internet available. Seriously, I just want to show you this. This slide was like this slide, this technique, when I study, and they say one day I use the full time. So the situation is very hard. Despite this, I recently started studying online, but it's like as pianos actually, and the teacher that has specialty, which is industries, training, and university clinics. That's why I searched a lot about an scholarship for Palestinian students to study abroad. But unfortunately, I didn't find any. So I want to say that scholarship to us is very easy to continue our education. I hope I can get a scholarship and my message here to the world after this event and after this meeting. Finally, I want to thank you again. And the words on this work, if you are tired of pushing and supporting us, what steps why we left this genocide? We found us why we left this genocide. You can also follow me on Instagram. I post my story there and all the updates that happen in Gaza here. And I will chat with you and then get to know me more. Thank you.
Thank you. So to summarize what you think.
Any questions?
Any questions? Anybody wants to ask anything to Darren? Yeah. So, okay, here we go, Darren. We got a question from Dr. Moral.
So, Darren, as a dental student in the last year, please tell us how you are progressing, how you are studying. Do you have any exams? Do you have any teachers or anyone who helps you with that?
Yes. I just the university currently I just have 6 hours. I can't take all my subjects. Because I definitely so as I mentioned before, I must practice at the training in the university clinic. So the situation is very difficult. No university. Not one university. So training or studying, just online. I study and I just training to and continue my education, but it's not absolute home.
Thank you so much, Darren. We all admire your strength, endurance, and how you are fighting this. So stay strong, and you got all our support and whatever we can do to help and support you. We will stay connected, and we will follow you on Instagram, and we will follow your stories, and we will stay in touch, and whatever we can do to help and support you, we will. And Professor Lobani is here. He's running the JIT program. He's listening to you, and he's doing stuff for the medical students as well. We are running the program for medical students, but be assured we haven't forgotten. Hull is the city, and this initiative has started from here, and people here support you, and we stand with you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll speak soon.
say so.
I want to say just answer.
Yes, please.
We deserve to learn like any person in this world to sleep safely without feeling that the missile will steal our family and friends. We deserve to dream, learn without our dreams being destroyed. These gods have the capabilities, but we need to choose to show them to the world.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Zain. God bless you, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, darling. Please speak soon. Thank you. Take care.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.
Okay. I'm gonna try.
Just while we try to connect to Dr. Majid.
One second. Can just put the volume down a little bit? You can carry on.
Can I ask those that are, because a lot of the people at the front have left, if I can ask you guys to move forward, because when we do connect, our colleagues, our friends in Palestine will see you, and I think most of the front is empty, so it would be good if we can fill the chairs at the front, inshallah. Dr. Majid did say that she's available, and she is there, alhamdulillah. So if I can ask you all to just move forward, and then I will connect the screen, inshallah.
You can say salam to her. Just let her know that we're setting up.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Majid, we are just setting up, okay? So just stay with us, okay? Thank you.
Okay.
Salam, from Gaza. I'm glad to be with you today. First of all, I would like to thank every organizer of this event and viewers who watch it now. Your attendance means a lot to me. Is that you are interested in our Palestinian issue. Not for me to call me today to talk about Gaza and the situation. Here in Gaza, we have lived from many wars before it's completely different from what happened in previous war. What we saw and lived is cannot be comprehended by the human minds. We never imagined that the war would last so long in. Today, we complete a year of genocide, the killing of civilians, threatening, hunting, fear, stress, confusion, overthinking, and in search of safety. But in fact, there is no good place here, and we are in danger of any kind. It was a year of deprivation of most basic human rights, living in difficult conditions, living in pain with the inability to provide the necessities of life, including food, water, electricity, and the internet due to the destruction of the infrastructure of the houses and the telecommunications company. Diseases spread during the war, such as hepatitis A, poliovirus, and skin diseases. Third was the overcrowding of people in a very narrow area, resulted from the forced displacement from north of Gaza Strip to the south, and pollution. Also, respiratory infections have increased from missiles and doctor from the convent. The health sector was affected very badly. Often, occupation destroyed many hospitals and primary healthcare centers, as many of them departed from serving patients, and people were unable to be treated in the conflict. This replacement killed many medical staff workers without any guilt, university dollars. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health documentation, more than 400 medical personnel and professionals were killed, and the occupation forces arrested more than 300 others. While 145 health centers were totally or partially destroyed, and more than 100 ambulances were destroyed. The Turkish Palestinian Friendship Hospital, which is the only one dedicated to cancer patients in Gaza, has been destroyed since the beginning of the war, increasing the suffering of patients due to the lack of medicine specialists and ways to provide service. Many patients have reached critical deaths due to the inability to receive treatment. Medical staff workers have been greatly affected as they work for long hours, leaving their families behind without knowing anything about them because of the lack of internet and communication due to the destruction of the telecommunications company. As many of them have lost their jobs. But despite that, they are working effectively with a great effort and miracle capability to save the lives of the injured people without any salary. We also saw one of our colleagues on his job and he came to save the injured. He saw that they were his family members and relatives, or perhaps he saw them as mortal. I remember when we were continuing our work, he received a phone call that her family had been targeted and they had all become workers. The strange thing about this situation is that she received the news and they continued to work without any action because there were many injured people waiting to save their lives. It's difficult to provide service to more than 1 million citizens, and the number of patients and injuries is too large to be controlled due to the severe shortage of medical staff and supplies as compared by the Ministry of Health. Operations such as gallbladder removal and others have been since the beginning of the war.
Yeah, you can speak to her directly.
Dr. Majid, if you can hear me, can I?
In order to free up operating rooms.
Yeah, I think there's a delay in the connection.
Dr. Majid, would you be kind enough to just tell the audience how many working hours usually the doctors in Gaza have to work? Tell us if you are receiving any salaries, and tell us that do you receive any threatening calls from IDF to leave Gaza or stop working as a doctor, please.
Yeah, I think the connection seems to be quite weak. So I think it's going to be difficult to go through the details. Just ask one simple question.
So, Dr. Maj, just tell us, do you receive any calls from IDF to stop working? Tell us just a little bit more about that, please. Okay. Please carry on then. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Please tell us what you were saying. So please, so complete your talk, please. Carry on.
I think
WHO also worries that the volume of medical supplies entering Gaza is insufficient to feed the health work. in response, and all military records out of Gaza are still suspended due to the crossing. Our educational journey was a great victory and finished the training grant first off due to the founding mental center to prepare the Palestinian part doctor. Finally, I want to say that adults are not remembered. Each one of us has a life of stories, fails, ambitions, and dreams. We are people who live a beautiful life. And
Thank you so much, Dr. Majd.
So this is to share with you that we all stand with you, we support all of you, we support our healthcare workers in Palestine, and we see how much atrocities and war crimes the healthcare workers in Gaza are facing and how many or what is the level of the struggle. We really respect your strength and how you are facing and standing against all of this. So you have all our support and we stand with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Majd, and to our sister who called earlier. You can end the call, inshallah, if you want. Clearly, the connection is not amazing, which I guess is understandable considering we're speaking directly to Gaza. But we're honored to even be able to speak to them, and the fact that they are able to connect to us and to share their thoughts. For those that maybe missed it because of the connection issues, she was saying that many medical staff have been arrested, over 400 medical personnel have been killed, occupation forces have been in and out of the hospitals, 145 health centers have been destroyed, in addition to when Dr. Junaid was talking about the hospitals, these were the main hospitals, but there are clinics and health centers across the Gaza Strip, and 145 have been destroyed. Over 100 ambulances have been destroyed. The only cancer hospital, which was the Turkish Friendship Hospital, has been destroyed. And the cancer patients are now unable to receive treatment. The telecoms companies have also been destroyed, and we're very fortunate that we're able to connect even if the signal is not great. But there's a severe shortage of medical staff as well as medical equipment. And I think the final point is that she was saying, similar to what our sister before her said, that these are the people of Gaza are people like everybody else. They have dreams and they want to have a normal and beautiful life like the rest of us. So thank you, Dr. Majd, for making the time. Thank you for being with us. And may Allah make it easy for you. We're here to support you, and everybody is sending their salams. If you guys can give them a wave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Subhanallah, that was, these are the people, I guess, as I was saying, Dr. Junaid, it was inspiring for us to hear from Dr. Junaid in terms of being on the ground and seeing what was happening and coming back to share that with us. But these are people, subhanAllah, that are there, that are still living with the people of Palestine, and they continue to serve. We also had a message from Sister Nermeen, who's a medical student in Gaza, and we wanted to share that with her. She unfortunately wasn't able to join us. She doesn't have a connection, but she did send a short video message, so I wanted to play that, inshallah.
Can I just say?
I just want to highlight Nermeen is in Khan Yunis, which is being heavily bombarded right now, and for the last couple of days have been very, very difficult for them. And there has been about 100 casualties in the last 24 to 48 hours in Khan Yunis. So I really appreciate that she took the time out and recorded the message and sent this, as she cannot talk to us live right now. So please hear her out.
Yes, subhanAllah, it's an important reminder. The fact that she's, as we speak, as we sit here and listen to her words, her neighborhood is being bombed. And we don't know if we'll speak to her again the next time. that they get a connection. So this was a video message that she recorded and she sent to Dr. Junaid beforehand, and she wanted to share her words as well.
Welcome everyone. Salam from dear and proud Gaza to everyone who sees and hears me now. Salam from Gaza, which we hope will see peace one day. My name is Yamin Ziyad Al-Mustafa. I'm 21 years old. I'm Palestinian from Gaza. I'm a medical student at the third level and volunteer doctor since the beginning of the war at medical points. I'm currently a volunteer doctor at the European Gaza Hospital. Since 7 October 2023, our lives changed completely and dramatically from a life of safety to a life of suffering and fear. For 11 months here in Gaza, we haven't seen peace. We haven't seen safety. We have lost all our rights without exception. Our simplest wishes have become finding good and useful food, finding clean and healthy water. Drinking water causes many problems with the digestive system, and many people fight fungi and algae in the water, strains that we have never seen before. Personally, some time ago I noticed something on the water bottle. After filling it several hours, the bottom of the bottle becomes green. This is a strange thing and really harmful to health. Since the beginning of the war, my family and they have been displaced almost 7 times. And every person here in Gaza also lives the suffering, moving from one place to another, searching for safety. Although there is no safety place here in Gaza, unfortunately, even safe humanitarian areas here in Gaza are being targeted. How do you see on the news what's happening in Mawasi Khan Yunis? Everything in Gaza has been destroyed, including homes, universities, schools, health centers, and many buildings. 90% of the population of Gaza have been living in tents for 11 months. Tents didn't protect them from the heat of the summer and will not protect them from the cold of the coming winter, because all tents have become bad and worn out. And we are all waiting for God's mercy. We cannot do anything except say Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel at all times. Also, the health sector in Gaza is completely destroyed. We do our works and perform our duty as doctors despite the lack of existing capabilities, despite our need for many medicines, despite our needs for many medical tools, despite the lack of manpowers, and the lack of entry of the medical delegations into Gaza due to the closure of the crossing for a long time. Diseases and epidemics are spreading everywhere, and unfortunately there is no treatment to control them. We try to do all our efforts and do everything we can to save our people and save our patients, but unfortunately there is not enough to give every patient his full right of health care. As a medical student in Gaza, my university was destroyed, and I was deprived of education. On and all my colleagues and all students in Gaza, whether schools or universities, students deprived of education.
SubhanAllah, that's a message from Sister Nami, who was a medical student. And SubhanAllah, you can hear the pain and the passion in her voice as she shares that message with us, and we pray that Allah keeps her under His protection, and we hope to hear from her soon. The program is coming to an end, and I know Maghrib has also entered, so we do need to wrap up, and I know that we need to empty the venue as well. But I think we have to reflect on what has been, I would say, a very thought-inspiring event today. First and foremost, once again, I thank all of you that have stayed right to the very end. It's a real sign of your dedication to the efforts for the people of Palestine. I want to thank the speakers that have made their time and that have shared their experiences and their wisdom, and hopefully that you are a catalyst for the community to do more. And I think most importantly, what we have seen today, starting with the local action of the efforts of just ordinary people from amongst our midst who have taken up the cause of Palestine to say, while we live with privilege in this country, regardless of our challenges, and God knows we all have our own personal challenges, we all have our own difficulties, our own issues, whether it's financial, whether it's family, whether it's emotional, whether it's mental, we have all got our own problems, but in the grand scheme of things, we know that the people of Palestine, the people of Lebanon, and people around the world are in a far worse situation than we are. So for those of you that have taken up this cause and that have led from the front, whether you've organized, whether you've mobilized, whether you've raised funds, whether you've advocated, whether you've protested, I thank you on behalf of all of the people that have organized today. And for those people that we won't get the benefit or the privilege to meet in Palestine, for those of us that won't be on the front lines, the ones we won't have the honor to look into their eyes and to thank them for their service, we pray that Allah allows us to continue to support them in whatever means we can, whether it's supporting the education for medical students in Gaza, whether it's supporting the healthcare workers' efforts, whether it's supporting the humanitarian organizations that are trying to deliver aid. If today has done nothing else, I hope that it's been enough for you for those of you that are active, to continue your activism. For those of you that are fundraising, to continue your efforts. For those of you that have been able to donate, to continue giving, because that is also a lifeline. There will come a time when all of this will be in the books of history, and we will all be looking at this as to what we did during this crisis. Whether it's our children or our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren, they will talk about the year 2023, 2024. They will talk about this genocide, and they will say that my parents, my grandparents, my forefathers and mothers were there when this happened. And while the world turned the blind eye to what was happening, the people in Hull did not. The people in Hull gathered, they mobilized, they raised funds, they continued to pressure, they continued to protest, and they were few in numbers. They were not in the hundreds of thousands. They were few in numbers, but they stood on the right side of history. And that's the absolute least we can do. So on behalf of everyone that has worked throughout the year, on behalf of those that have lost their lives on the front lines, the hundreds of health workers that have been killed, the thousands of aid workers that have been killed, the hundreds of journalists that have been targeted and killed, it is for their legacy that we continue our efforts. So we continue, yes, immediately, the immediate need right now is a ceasefire. The immediate need right now is an end to arms sales to Israel. And of course, the long-term aim is for liberation for the people of Palestine. It is to continue the fight. It is continue to stand on the right side of justice. And just as apartheid ended in South Africa, inshallah, Palestine will be free. But it will only be free if we stand firm, if we don't back down, if we don't allow these governments and these politicians to continue to side with these genociders and their enablers, and we cannot back down. This cannot be a one-off event where you come, you listen, you're inspired, you're emotional, you cry, you shed tears, and you give some money and you go home and you carry on with your lives. The reason we got together today was so that we re-energize, we are reinvigorated, we make a firm commitment that whether it's for the next few weeks, months or years, whether it's in our lives or the generations to come, we will continue to give, to support, to act and inspire the next group of leaders from amongst us to carry on carrying the flag for Palestine, to stand for the people of Palestine, to ensure that we don't give up until the people of Palestine are free. So thank you once again. I hope to see all of you at the next gathering, at the next event, at the next fundraiser, and inshallah we continue our efforts. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for everyone, and have a good evening. Assalamu alaikum. I think for those of you who want to pray Maghrib, maybe the masjid nearby will be open. If not, we can make our way down to Hull Mosque on Berkeley Street. Or if anybody wants to, you can use the room next door to pray as well, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.